So the Holiday Cup is here in Pokemon Go from December 16th to the 31st. The Holiday Cup will be the cup format in Season 10 of Go Battle League. In this format, we will be limited to 1500 CP Pokemon that are normal, grass, electric, ice, flying, and ghost type. So it's basically the same exact thing as the Holiday Cup of yesteryear. However, we do have a bunch of new Pokemon to talk about for the Holiday Cup. So this video here is the Holiday Cup prep guide to help you get ready for the Holiday Cup and get ahead in GBL. So before we get into the new Pokemon that are eligible for the Holiday Cup, I think it'd be good to start out with the foundation of what worked out in the Holiday Cup of yesteryear. So here I have the Holiday Cup meta simplified infographic from Lormer96 of the Game Press crew from 2020, not 2021. And back then we found that Alolan Marowak was a major player in the Holiday Cup, and the main reason being is that the charm users were extraordinarily good and they were relatively unchallenged in the Holiday Cup aside from Alolan Marowak. Now you could consider that there are other like steel and poison types out there, like we got Skarmory, we've got, Magnezone, we got Alolan Sandslash, we got Venusaur here. Don't those things counter charm users? And they do. And they all lose really hard. They just get annihilated completely by Alolan Marowak. So at the end of the day, if you're going to counter charm, you're going to be doing it with Alolan Marowak. To add to that, two other big players in the Holiday Cup from last year would be Vigoroth and Obstagoon, and I really don't see that changing this year either. They are counter users when it comes to Vigoroth. Vigoroth is like one of the best safe swap pivot type Pokemon in the Great League in general. So if there's a cup format where Vigoroth is eligible to be played, yeah, Vigoroth is most definitely going to get played. And then Obstagoon is quite good as well. Even though Obstagoon is a bit countered by the Vigoroth there, it does have the dark type moves to manage ghost type Pokemon such as Alolan Marowak. And then Altaria is good. It's got Dragon Breath, right? So it makes sense that it was pretty present in the meta last year. But I'd have to say last year the meta definitely revolved around these three groups here and core breakers that could manage them effectively. So what has changed for the Holiday Cup in 2021? So starting out, one big player to the new Holiday Cup is definitely going to be Diggersby here, because back in the past Diggersby did exist in the Holiday Cup, but we couldn't XL Pokemon yet. XL Diggersby is quite different from non-XL Diggersby, especially in the sense that it can beat charm users fairly reliably. So now that Diggersby exists as a normal ground type Pokemon, that definitely puts the pressure on Alolan Marowak to perform here, because this is an anti-charm Pokemon that can manage charm users pretty consistently. What's interesting too is that it does kind of keep the meta similar feeling to last year, because Diggersby obviously is countered pretty handily by the counter users here. The counter users counter Diggersby. Who would have saw that coming? But yeah, I feel like these guys definitely still do have a good place in this meta. To add, we also have buffed flying type Pokemon that I feel definitely put a lot of pressure on both the counter users, Diggersby, and the charm users, such as Talonflame. Definitely an insane Pokemon. None of these Pokemon really do want to get caught by the Talonflame here. We got the newly buffed Golbat. Golbat was pretty decent last year, but now we've got a Poison Fang that can debuff opponents, and with the combination of Wing Attack and Poison Fang, it can kind of aggro down some Pokemon that wouldn't expect to be countered by a Golbat. And then of course we've got our good friend Pidgeot with the Feather Dance. And while these flying types, especially the Pidgeot here, it's going to have some big hang-ups when it comes to electric type Pokemon. When they work, if they're not caught by these Pokemon, if they're not captured by the Frostlass here in a bad way, they're going to put in a lot of work. And if counter users and Diggersby are going to be big players here, and even if charm users are still big players here, flying types definitely look really good. As far as the charm users in particular, I think in a cup format that invites charm, charm is definitely going to exist, but I don't think charm is definitely going to have the swagger this year that it did last year, because of all these Pokemon that just manage them so well. To add to that, all the electric types are looking pretty hot in this cup as well, and while they don't all outright beat charm users, it's a neutral matchup that they're usually quicker in, so they're not completely lost against the charm users either. So I feel like the deck is really stacked against charm users. I think in like any one of these like three corners, I could see like a double team happening. I could see double electric, I could see double flyer, I could see double counter, I could see double ghost. but I really couldn't see Double Charm working out all that well because so many meta threats that aren't even thinking about Charm for the most part can just manage Charm. So use Charm at your own risk when it comes to this particular cup. So if flying types are looking pretty hot, I'd say the main group that can manage them well is going to be the electric type Pokemon, and we got a lot of different electric type Pokemon to choose from, some definitely better than others. I think Magnezone still has like a risk factor associated with it because of, you know, the ground type Pokemon here, the counter users that can get on it, the fire type attacks, the fire type attacks. So Magnezone seems like it has like a risk reward element associated with it, similar to Agrav as well. I mean, not a lot of things in this cup aside from Diggersby and maybe the Stunfisk here really appreciate its rock type damage, so I think there is a risk reward element associated with Agrav as well. So overall, I'd say electric types, they feel kind of risky, but the payoff is definitely there. And when it comes to the whole bunch, they're all unique enough from each other where like you can't really just throw in a Diggersby and be like, yeah, I've got electric types fully covered. I mean, you kind of do, but like Lantern shows up and now it's using all this water gun damage. The only way you can hurt it is by landing an Earthquake, so that could be, you know, problematic. So I think that electric types are pretty good. And once you get Diggersby out of the way, assuming your opponent has Diggersby to begin with, then I feel like the electric types are relatively unencumbered for running amok in the Holiday Cup. But that isn't to take away from Alolan Marowak as being a big player in this cup. It definitely does handle the field pretty well. Aside from Pidgeot here, who is basically the Haywack nemesis Pokemon, especially if you've ever played the Kanto Cup. You know, the other flyers, they can manage Alolan Marowak, but Alolan Marowak can manage them right back, and if it does end up getting some degree of like energy lead on it, then it can be fairly threatening as well. So I wouldn't count Alolan Marowak out. And then to add, we also have Frostlass. And I have to say, in a lot of limited formats where Diggersby looks really good, I kind of feel like Frostlass is doing the same exact job, but kind of like a little bit better. And I mean, it's not doing the same job in the same exact way, but like what you were expecting to use Diggersby for, it seems like Frostlass is kind of picking up the slack. And in this cup, as with many other cups, Frostlass is the kind of Pokemon where if it gets a slight energy lead, and worse yet, if it gets a shield advantage, it can just kind of annihilate everything in its path unencumbered. So I do expect to see a lot of Frostlasses when it comes to the Holiday Cup. Then down here at the bottom, I have a couple Pokemon that I have like some faith in, right? And there are other Pokemon that will work out in the Holiday Cup too. This isn't the Holiday Cup simplified. This isn't the full breakdown of the Holiday Cup. I feel like Altaria still has some swagger because it does have an advantage over the other flying types, circumstances depending. It's just got that raw dog dragon breath damage and bulk that allows it to pull ahead. You know, the counter users, the Diggersby, they don't want to deal with it. And if there's a ton of pressure on the Charm users, Charm becomes less common. Then I feel like Charm might not be as big of an issue for Altaria. To add to that, Alolan Marowak doesn't like dealing with it. And then the electric types that are primarily using electric type attacks, because obviously we got a rock guy here, we got a steel guy here, we got a fairy. My son Dedenne, I love Dedenne so much. Definitely going to be using Dedenne in this cup out of pure love, and it does look kind of meta too. Yeah, so there are electric types that can manage Altaria fairly well, but I think Altaria, just for what it is still going to be a powerful option in this cup, and then Charm being a bit weaker definitely helps it out. Grass types, I don't know. I'm pretty iffy about grass types in this cup because, like, on the one hand, like, you've got the electric types, and the electric types really don't like fighting grass type Pokemon for the most part, so grass is pretty strong. But problem is that you got a Alolan Marowak, you got Frostlass, you've got these birds, right? So that's all pretty bad for most grass type Pokemon. And then when it comes to Diggersby, it is a ground type Pokemon, but it's got Fire Punch. So like this guy 2x speak to Fire Punch, who actually has the advantage in that matchup. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like grass types are going to be fairly risky. I think some can pull ahead. For example, if you get Venusaur into one of the counter users or one of the electric type Pokemon, that could help you, you know, pull ahead, get some farm action in, and then have a bunch of energy preloaded for the next thing in. Obviously, you got Abomasnow, which is an ice type Pokemon with grass type attacks, so that can help you pull ahead in interesting ways too. But I don't feel like grass types are definitely going to be the main course when it comes to this particular format. Then we got Zangoose. And one of the bigger hangups with Zangoose would probably be Charm users because it doesn't really have a way to damage them too much. I mean, against these two charm users in particular, close combat does do a number on them, but I do see Zangoose having some pretty good potential as a safe swap in here. If you swap into Zangoose and your opponent's not responding with like a big charm user like Whimsicott or something right away, then I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for Zangoose to put in a ton of work against your opponent's team. Just beware that Zangoose is pretty fragile, and in the matchups where you're really going to want to land the close combat, if they shield it, then it could put you in a really tight position. But I do expect a lot from Zangoose in this cup. Then we got Sableye, and I feel like if Frostlass is good and Sableye is here, then Sableye can also put in work. It's got Foul Play, so it's got the neutral damage into a lot of different Pokemon. So if the big charm ends up being as low as I expect it to be, then I think Sableye does have a lot of opportunity to work well in this cup too. That said, it's going to definitely have some threats with Obstagoon being a little bit boosted here, and then the potential of Zangoose running amok too could be problematic for our friend. And then we also have my special friend Dedenne just taking a big Dedenne poop on its head. I love you, Dedenne. And then we got Dugong. I don't know if I have to explain what Dugong does to you guys, but Dugong don't care if there's counter users. Dugong does not care if there's electric type Pokemon. Dugong uses Icy Wind, and we all hate it for it. So Dugong's probably going to see some decent play here too. And then I also included Gliscor here. When I was like picking images to include on my video here. Gliscor, I don't know. I see some interesting potential with it because it is ground type. So it's able to manage these electric type Pokemon pretty well. It's able to manage Diggersby pretty well. Counter users don't like fighting Gliscor here. It's got the Night Slash for the boost potential. So in a lot of ways, Gliscor does look very threatening for this cup. But at the same time, we do have Ice-type Pokemon in this cup, don't we? And Frostlass. I do expect Frostlass to be on almost every single team. And yeah, that's a big problem for Gliscor, right? So Great League Gliscor, I don't know. It's got potential in this cup. Some potential. If you can bait in and take care of the Frostlass, I could see Gliscor doing a lot. But at the same time, it feels pretty risky. I don't know. If you're a Gliscor fan, maybe try it out. Just know that your mileage may vary with the Gliscor here. So that's all I gotta say about the Holiday Cup at this moment. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below. Let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description.